Welcome everybody to the Alternative Sports Show powered by Verge Magazine. We continued a series of content chatting to some of the greats that are taking part in Team GB Rugby 7's at Tokyo 2020. It sounds weird to say, of course, because it is now 2021, but nevertheless, Abbie Brown is here. Exeter Massive, as we have learned off air. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Not so keen on the weather, but I mean, it's just because it's May. I'm like, we're technically in the summer now, and especially when you play 7's, we play it in the sun. So when it starts raining, we're not too happy.
Exactly. It's the conditions are working against us, and hopefully that is not going to be anything that can play with preparations, because of course we want the perfect conditions. It's the only reason I loved playing 7's when I was younger, in the summer, getting in those summer tournaments. It's a lot of fun. But you, Abbie, get the ultimate privilege to potentially be a part of Tokyo 2020 with Team GB. How are the preparations? Of course, the wait has been wild, right?
Yeah.
How do you as an athlete prepare for this kind of thing when we were expecting it 2020? Of course, it couldn't happen because of world events. Now it's 2021. How's the prep been for you?
Yeah, like the last year has been completely up and down, like you've been saying. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, but I think it has been for everybody. So the prep that we've come into with this, when the National Lottery started funding us, it has been so good, and it's been intense, and it's been, we're in camp now, so we're in camps Monday to Thursday, then we go away for the weekend, come back in Monday, and we've been doing that for like a couple of months now. And it is hard. Like we come in and it is super intense. You're constantly busy. You're either training, you're in the gym, you're getting to know your teammates, because actually some of us, we don't know each other, so right. That's all part of it. Obviously with COVID it's had its issues, but we've finally been allowed to have roommates from last week, so finally we're having roommates, and that just adds extra flavor to it. And I think especially with 7's and like team sport, we are a team, so you really do need to know the people you're playing with. And yeah, last week we played our first competition, so that was really exciting. And yeah, everyone had a real good time. And I think that was almost the first real step forward in us actually look at how good we are, look how good we can be. And that's only our first competition. So yeah, it's a super exciting moment to be a part of.
Well, it's great that you can, it's great finally you can, kind of room up now, because of course it's what works off the pitch is so important on the pitch, and that kind of that dynamic and chemistry. It's we're at the elite of rugby 7's, because it's we're at Olympic level here. For yourself, that had been a part of the 2016 Rio Olympics, of course, what did you learn from that experience, and what have you taken from that helps you get ready for this time around?
Yeah, so personally I was only 20 years old, so it was definitely an eye-opener, should we say.
Mind blown. What an experience for a 20-year-old to enjoy.
I know, it is mad. And I think the whole experience itself, like obviously unfortunately we came fourth, and that whole experience outside of it was huge as well. And actually it's enjoying the actual Olympics itself, and then enjoying the rugby side is something different, and you're there to perform, and you're there to almost do a job. And I know it's not taken away from the fact of being an amazing event, but actually we're there to do a job. At the end of the day, bring home that medal. And I think that's when you can really start celebrating all the little bits. And I think it wasn't until last time when I came home and I saw the impact it had on like my friends and my family, and everyone was so proud of me, that actually I was like, oh, actually that was like, even though I was feeling a bit like crap about being fourth, actually everyone was really proud. So like it was a really difficult dynamic, but I guess personally I've learned to like just keep being myself, and just keep expressing yourself, because actually that's what hopefully will get me onto that plane in a few months' time.
The second time round, I'm sure you'll be waltzing through, being like, "Yeah, I've got this covered. This is it. I know the score now." But of course, new surroundings, new teammates. It's of course going to be such a a unique and different experience for yourself, Abbie. When it comes to the physical kind of preparations for yourself, of course you're doing your usual all round season rugby thing, and then you got the Olympics coming up. Is there a change in mindset as far as what you might do for your own kind of training and preparation? Because I have this weird thing where, like, if I, have to interview an athlete or we're doing something in person, a little part of you is like, okay, I need to like not eat so badly in a run up, because you're in the presence of athletes. You want to, go for a run or something to feel conditioned. So for yourself, knowing that, okay, now we're preparing for Olympics, do you, outside of what you're doing with your team, do anything marginally different, or do you have a similar routine that you stick to?
I probably have a similar routine. Like there is less kind of, I guess COVID's kind of helped a little bit with the whole socializing aspect of,
Yeah.
like, that's part of when you're an athlete, you get invited to a party, you get invited to this, but actually you've got to get up, you've got to do a whole nother week. And actually, is it worth going out, seeing your friends for ages, or do you go for like a little bit of that? And I really do believe you have to have a good balance with things. And it's not about, yes, it is about these next few months and being the best athlete I can be, but actually it's before this, it's all the hard work I put in before that, and everything, all the choices and decisions I've made previously have now helped me get to this point I am now. I just need to keep being really on it for the next few months, which at the moment is probably the whole COVID situation. Like obviously the world's kind of opening up a little bit more. Well, England's opening up a little bit more.
Yeah.
People are, going out a bit more freely, whereas here we're still very much trying to be really strict because it's going to be like that in Tokyo. So you're kind of in like a little bubble when you come into camp, and actually you've got to be really sensible away from camp. So I guess that's the only change really, that I'm probably trying to be more sensible outside of camps. I can still come in and train. I think that's probably the main bit.
What I've been asking your fellow colleagues these kind of questions, because I'm very curious to know what kind of personal items are kind of making a short list as far as what you go. Of course, being athletes, a lot gets provided, and you get very well looked after. But is there anything that you will make sure you maybe do it currently, that you make sure you have to take with you at any kind of tournament or whatever?
To me, it's my tea bags. To any
Yes.
So obviously you got your Redbull, you got your coffees, you got your tea bags. Those for me are like essentials. And I think I take Yorkshire tea bags. So
Yes.
I take them everywhere I go, exactly. Because I think if you
Choice.
I'm like, as long as I've got them, there'll always be boiling water somewhere, they'll allow us to find some milk. So like the rest of it can do itself. So caffeine for me is a big one.
And essential. I like that. That's
exactly.
it's funny. I think it's funny. You can't take home, you got to bring home with you at any chance. One thing I want to understand, because of course you have the ultimate awesome privilege of being able to call yourself an Olympic athlete. And I think for fans that witness it has such a higher, of course it has such a higher prestige because of its legacy it has. When you find yourself competing at that level, are there any additional sacrifices that you feel you have to make, or does the Olympics, in a sense, feel not like any other tournament, but you can prepare just the same as anything else?
I think it's a bit of both. Like obviously speaking previously, we had to prepare like it was just another tournament, although you also spoke about the fact that it wasn't just another tournament, and actually it was a multi-sport event, and something that as rugby players we travel the world, especially with 7's, we travel the world every year, like go to different countries, but it's always just rugby, and you see the same people, and like there's a big group, but there's not multi-sport event big group of
Sure.
people. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that actually just talking about it, and it's almost like the elephant in the room, like talking about the fact that it's a huge event and it's going to be public and it's going to be this and that, but actually we're still there to do like that job that I was saying about. We're still there to do our best on the rugby pitch, and that is what we're there for. So yes and no, but I definitely think it's good to talk about these things to make sure the nerves are kind of out the way of that aspect.
That's fascinating. And I guess one thing I've always been curious about is, because it's such an intensive process being a part of the Olympics, from memory, last time round when you competed at Rio, what was the first almost most normal thing you did once you got back home? Did you kind of have like a little get together with your mates, have a crazy, like, I don't know, like a crazy cheat meal or whatever? Or how do you transition back into normality after a kind of having an Olympic high?
Yeah, so I went home. I think I was living at home in that moment. And I think it was a couple of days afterwards, and I was watching, or whenever I was watching the final, the women's hockey final, when they got gold. And I was just sat there with my dad, like having a beer. And I was like, this is ridiculous. I was literally there like a week ago, but I'm now sat just having a beer with my dad, which I kind of like. It brings you like back to reality. It brings the like normal side of it. But yeah, I definitely celebrated. We had a few parties and stuff and all of that in a proper manner. But it's difficult because also we then kind of, when our season then started, like 5-6 weeks later, so then it's kind of like you're on this massive high, and then all of a sudden you're like, actually in 3 weeks time you're back training. There was no big gap like I think a lot of Olympic athletes maybe do have, because their 4-year cycle is literally a 4-year cycle, and then they can have a big gap afterwards and all that kind of stuff, whereas for us it's you're back going again, the season starts in a month. So it's a really, it was a bit of a weird one for me, because I was still probably on a high, and then I had to kind of come back a little bit and be like, right, we've actually got to start training again. And I probably wasn't in the right headspace a couple of years back, but hopefully this time, if I go, then we can have a bit of a break afterwards, especially after the whole year of everything that's happened.
I can't imagine that kind of the Olympic glow that you'll come back from after that and being like, wow, it's wow. No one can, on my side of it, can even imagine what that must feel. But final thing from me, what does Rugby Sevens mean to you, and how much you love this sport? And, what would you say to others that would be curious to want to be a part of Rugby Sevens?
Anyone that wants to like try it, I'd say just give it a go. I personally am very passionate about the sport. I love rugby in itself. 15's game, absolutely, I love it. But nothing brings me so much joy and happiness than Rugby Sevens does. And I think it's the excitement around it, and it is a roller coaster and it's hard work. But that's why I also love it, is because when you're down, you're really down. But when you're up, you're on the highest cloud. And I think that's why I kind of love it, is that all of those emotions you can feel within the space of 2 days. And that's why it's exciting, and people love it for the watching of it. And it's easy, it's quick, it's an enjoyable game to watch. If anyone's like thinking, I might give it a go, start with social stuff. That's always a good way of getting into it. Start with the social element. Everyone loves that. And then actually, if you're any good, go to like UR7's. I know people there's loads of different things out there that you can go to and just be like, how can I get into this? And I do think it's getting more prominent with like clubs and stuff. So just asking your club, like, let's put a 7's team in and see if you enjoy it.
Well, Abbie Brown, as someone that's come out of Exeter and been able to say, representing Team GB at the Olympics, it's an incredible thing. So just want to say, we've got our fingers collectively crossed for you. We've got our fingers crossed for Team GB. And thank you so much for stopping by to chat.
Appreciate it. Thank you.